The Honourable Dr Brian Walker.
Thank you, Acting President. I would like also to support this excellent motion and take the moment to explain to Parliament that by now you have had 3.5 years to realise that the Legalise Cannabis Party is anything but a single-issue party, because we would desperately be wanting to assist all West Australians to live a better life in every way possible. And small business is one area where we could absolutely play a vital role. Now, my thoughts went back to a time in my earlier life when I left Australia and I landed in the UK, much against my will, I might add. And shortly thereafter, there appeared on the scene...
Whose will was it?
My parents. And there came on the scene a lady by the name of Margaret Thatcher, whose voice successfully drove me from the UK on a permanent basis. But there were some features that could be admirable, as is true for everyone. Here I might point out here that this idea about fighting across the chamber, we're right and you're wrong, is actually not helpful to anyone in society. And so finding the positives that we could work together to serve the people of our state is really where we want to be. Now, Margaret Thatcher herself was, of course, as she often reminded us, in that rather unpleasant voice of hers, often reminded us that she was the daughter of a grocer. Does anyone here remember grocers? When you walked in there and the smell of the coffee was there and the loose biscuits was there and the cheese was cut with a cheese wire. And you could actually get a personal service and find out where your vegetables and fruit came from. And they were, of course, in season and not stored. And that was a wonderful service. Also a place where real food was sold. Real food, because when it comes to my particular interest in wellness, a lot of our health problems, our chronic health problems, arise from the fact that we are nourishing ourselves with substandard foods, which are food-like foods at times, or if they are the natural fruit and vegetables, often have chemicals which do not belong in our bodies. But at least we have the option just now, of course, but in those days we had grocers and we could walk into the corner shop there and get your items individually cut and measured, individual biscuits you take out there and be individually packaged, often in brown paper. Now we've got more of a monopoly with the two majors, Coles and Woolworths, which seem to be working together on their pricing, which certainly is causing harm, if you like, to small businesses with their managing the prices at the farm gate, which allows farmers to actually work for a pittance, basically, at the mercy of the large producers, because they have driven the small grocers out of business. They've driven it with an economy of scale, so the service you got at the corner shop is no longer possible. I wonder if our current cost of living crisis is not in some way related to these changes in our society. Now, I look at the farming community. I worked, as you know, in the wheat belt for some years. And if I take, for example, the centre of civilization that is Muckenbuden, and we'll look here at how much of the service is actually supplied by small businesses. The IGA, they're an independent grocer, the deli where I got my lunch when I was there in the clinic, the services there which serviced the people of that area from far and near. And you wonder, how are they managing? Because they've got to deal with a lot of problems, like, for example, how do you manage with the ATO? How do you manage with the compliance, the regulations which are imposed upon them? And how do you manage with the banks when we no longer have a local bank manager? When I was a young one, we had, of course, a bank manager. You could walk in and explain your circumstances, and you'd have a face who could actually work with you on achieving the best outcome for your current financial needs. And not only do we not have that now, we've actually got the situation now where banks are closing. And I wonder how that is helping our society. And I would put it to you that it is not, and both sides ought to contemplate this. Are we actually getting into a better place, or are we deteriorating in our society? And I think if we ask the people, and more importantly, if we listen to the people, they would tell us that they are not happy with the direction we are going in. And we must address this. Now, can government help with these small businesses? I'm sure the government can. What are we going to do about the banking system? Does government have any influence whatsoever? What about reducing red tape? This is something that I, all throughout my life, have been confronted with the amount of bureaucracy, the red tape, which seems to actually sprout faster than any crop I can think of on any farm. In any garden, you'd be happy for the rate at which the red tape is growing. Is it benefiting us? Who is it benefiting? We're regulating. To whose benefit? We need to have a close look at this. And there was, in fact, I think in New Zealand, a junior minister for red tape who was able to actually reduce red tape in government. And I would highly recommend that we begin to think along those lines. Are we bureaucratically overruling and overriding our small businesses and indeed even our large businesses to the point where we are actually not being well serviced? But in particular, I really wanted to look at the education system when it comes to small business. And you might ask, and I would think the Honourable Louise Kingston might also ask, what does education have to do with small business and the troubles we're facing? And I would ask you, as I ask myself, how often have I used my mathematical skills in calculus since I left school? How much would I have benefited from knowing the precise dates of which particular wars? I'm not saying these are unimportant things to learn. What I am saying is that our children are leaving school now without the basic understanding of how do you manage tax? How do you budget for yourself? How do you actually work with the finances of going out to get the best at the best price, what you need most usefully, not what you currently are offered as an ability to buy by using the credit card your bank has so helpfully given you, or the third or the fourth credit card. So you're maxing yourself out unnecessarily because we haven't been taught in school how to actually live as adults in the adult world. How do you actually manage a business? How do you actually manage your household budget? These are simple things which we all need to manage, but somehow we seem to have absorbed it by osmosis throughout life, some more successfully than others. So should we make a change here? Absolutely we should. We should be focusing on the needs of the common person, that's all of us, who are going to be involved at all levels of life, managing with small business, interacting with small business, and educating our children to deal with small businesses. Because, as the Honourable Member pointed out, small businesses are the vast majority of all businesses. They may not produce the vast billions of, say, the mineral resource companies, but they are certainly vital to our existence. And they're something we ought to aspire to, that rather than actually being employed by someone paying tax to then work your life at someone else's business, we might move into the area of managing our own business for our own benefit, employing others, and bringing forward our community in a helpful way which inspires us to develop resources, to develop businesses which then give back money to the economy and make us flourish, because we are supporting ourselves, our families, and our society with the work that we put in. So this is an excellent motion, and I would heartily approve it to the House.